Today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now. In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Absolute chaos last week right here in Texas. Over there on the western tip, El Paso, that's the National Guard being overrun by illegal entrants into this country. We've been told for years now that anyone using the term invasion is a racist or a xenophobe. Biden took office and immediately stripped down and sold at pennies on the dollar all the resources, all the equipment that was purchased, all the materials purchased to build a border wall, and said, well, we don't need it, right? Now he's buying it back at full price, talking about, well, maybe we do need it, and pretending that the issue at the board is a creation of Donald Trump, right? I mean, the Republicans most certainly are to blame somewhat, but this chaos began with Joe Biden saying, oh, there's going to be a moratorium on deportation. Used to be, if you came to this country illegally, you had to come here and you had to obey the law, because if you got caught breaking the law, you were going to get sent home. Now people are coming from South America on crime vacations to California. There are people just running over Army soldiers because we got an open border and no one gives a damn. And I've heard you say a million times on TV, no one's illegal on stolen land. Damn it, we have to have a border. Resources are being stripped from black communities to divert them to non-citizens, health care given to non-citizens, where black Americans are left without. It's insane. And the Republicans, don't get me wrong, they don't want to help anybody, right? They're just using the immigrants as a scapegoat. But damn it, it's time to start deporting people that come to this country and break the law. There was a ruling last week that said, oh, illegals can have guns. It's insane. This is insanity, Quanell.
What it reminds me of is when Christopher Columbus came to America.
Oh, Jesus.
And what that video reminded me of is how those criminal crew members of Columbus, because King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella cleaned out the jails and insane asylums to put them on ships to discover a new land. But could you imagine had the Indians enforced those same border laws with your white ancestors? Can you imagine that if the Indians said it used to be when you come to America, like you just said, you had to obey the laws, etc.? Well, when the white man came here, he didn't obey one law. He broke every one of them. And so those Mexican brothers and sisters right there at El Paso, I believe it was in El Paso, I believe, but at the southern border, they were only coming home. Those Mexican brothers and sisters, if they're Mexicans, they were coming home. Texas, Arizona, and California. Let me finish. Texas, Arizona, and California were stole from the Mexicans. So if they're Mexicans, they're coming back home. Now, if they're not Mexicans, that's something else. And it's proof that it's a whole lot more than just Mexicans coming across that border. They're coming from Syria. They're coming from Middle Eastern countries, coming from Asian countries. So, yes, it is a problem.
Oh, that's a problem.
It's a problem, period.
Okay.
So, but at the same time,
I thought you just said it wasn't a problem.
It's not a problem for those Mexicans coming home. It shouldn't be a problem for them at all.
Okay.
They're only coming back to take that and to live what was stole from them. So I have no problem with the Mexican brothers and sisters coming home.
Right, are you talking about the Mexicans that are descendants of the Castilian Spaniards, or are you just talking about the indigenous people?
I'm talking about
just the indigenous people.
I'm talking about the real indigenous Chiapas Indians of Mexico.
Because, of course,
and they are the original inhabitants of what we call Mexico. You and I both know that Mexico Vespucci was a European white man that put his name on Mexico.
When you go throughout history,
but let him come home.
When you go throughout history, people of all races have been expanding countries and retracting and setting borders and losing borders and having wars. And of course, and I will applaud you, you love to look to yesteryear to make your nonsense argument, but I think this is the furthest you've ever gone back. It's when did Columbus sail the seas? What was it, 16 something?
And all the criminal settlers came with him.
But anyhow, I think you might be thinking
and
of Australia.
And they raped and robbed,
but it's okay.
pillaged.
Again, you're making stuff up. That's what you do.
They didn't do that when they came to America?
Well, it did.
They didn't rape and rob Indian women?
Most certainly the conquistadors
and
from
they
Spain
didn't kill those who wouldn't convert to Christianity?
Yeah, there was a whole lot of violence in South America from Spaniards who you now in your mind see as Mexicans, but it's okay. But let's talk about it, people that are alive today, people that are committing crimes today, people that are doing things today. This is a nation. America, it was an almost completely unpopulated piece of land way back then in the 1600s. Now it is a nation filled with people of all backgrounds and all ethnicities.
Unpopulated. Ain't that a white lie?
Well, it's not a lie. It was.
They told that same lie about the Indians
America
when they took that land. Well, you're not using it.
Almost completely unpopulated. But I don't care, because what I care about is present day. And right now, we have a social safety net that is way too small and is abandoning many poor American citizens. We don't have health care for poor American citizens. And I know there are Republicans that will get it, but they don't give a damn about nobody but their own facilitating their own greed with the Bible. But there are Democrats who don't give a damn about doing anything but facilitating their own power by importing a whole new wave
but it's
of
white
people.
Democrats that created that problem at the border.
Okay.
And it's white Democrats that are benefiting from that problem at the border.
I don't disagree.
And it's white Democrats
and you know who's getting pushed,
who want them to keep coming.
And do you know who's getting pushed to the back of the bus again?
But why?
Black Democrats.
Why?
Black
Because
Americans.
Black people
and yet
here
you are
to the Democratic Party.
You are.
And black folks have woke up that neither party give a damn about black people.
The open border,
Republican or Democrat.
Defending the nonsense.
No.
Talking about
I'm a black
stolen
man
land
that realizes
because
the Democratic Party or the Republican Party can't fix our problems.
Look, you realize you're in bed with the Democrats.
No.
And you absolutely are defending
I'm
that open
in bed with
border
the independents.
because you care more about power.
I've been a registered independent since 2000.
Much like Joe Biden and Barack Obama.
And I'm going to tell you something.
You care more about power than you do Black America.
For black people. And so black folk being aligned to either party is not helping us. What we must learn to do is unite and leverage our political power. Does
Black America benefit from the current open border of Joe Biden?
No.
Black America is suffering, but you don't care.
All of America is suffering.
Why don't you care?
All of America is suffering.
I agree. But Black America is suffering a unique harm
because you talk like that because you want to set Black Americans against the immigrants, immigrants against us, make us fight each other and not pay attention to you.
I want America to have a reformed border system and a controlled border with a wall that's keeping the monsters at bay but letting law-abiding citizens in.
You got more Americans committing crimes in this country than immigrants.
Having a baby with the 22-year-old basketball player Jalen Green. And Draya is getting dragged for filth, y'all. Now, when the Shade Room reposted her announcement, a lot of people had a lot of things to say. This one comment said, "I'm 30 and would scream if a 22-year-old tried to talk to me. Where is your mama, little boy? Nah, this ain't it. This is disgusting. And I hope us women give her the same energy we gave Marcus Houston. If the tables were turned and it was a 21-year-old young woman, we would drag that man from DC to California in these comments. I have 4 boys, so this irks my soul. But she wanted to come up. But as old folks say, all money ain't good money."
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, when I first heard about the Jalen Green story, in regards to him getting a woman pregnant named Draya Michele, with whom I'm a little bit familiar with from watching Basketball Wives.
I was about to say, y'all used to date?
No.
Back when you was 18, 19?
But several guys I know dated her.
Okay.
And my son sent me this story with the emoji and the words under the story, "Oh no." And so I looked at it and I was, oh my God, this young boy hooked up with a seasoned hustler in Draya Michele, When you look at the laundry list of all of the rappers, all of the athletes, all of the entertainers that she has dated and slept with, when you look at the children she got from other athletes already, this young boy is 22 years old, she's 39. She got a son who's 20 years old herself. This young boy got played. He hooked up with that no good, dirty, low down cougar, and she peed on his leg and told him his reign. She tried to make him be slick to a can of oil, and he lost. That's a shame. It makes you wonder who was advising this young man? Who was he listening to? Because if this was my son, I'd be heartbroken.
Do you judge men the same way you judge women, men that sleep around?
Yes.
It doesn't seem that way, right? It seems like you save your ire and your criticism for women that have multiple partners. But
Multiple?
Now Jalen Green.
She had a laundry list.
You just referred to him as a young boy. He is a grown-ass man, right?
22.
22 years old. He's an adult millionaire. He is a leader in the league on a bad team. I hate that my Houston Rockets aren't doing so well, but he is a standout player. He is an incredible athlete, and he is happy about this. He is happy about his relationship. He's happy about having a child.
Because that young boy don't know his behind from a hole in the ground. That young boy believes, she done made that young boy believe she can make a ship sail on dry land. She done played that young boy, and he don't know no better.
Maybe they're in love.
In what?
Maybe they're in love. They're both adults.
He might be in love, but she in love with the money.
How do you know?
Because look at her history.
What about her history?
Look at her history. She's always dated a lot of men for their money. And in fact, some of the former men have come out and made statements about this case. About this particular instance, some of her former men that she's dated feel sorry for him because they know the caliber of this woman. This was nothing more than a straight up hustling job.
You see, you keep saying that, right? But we don't know if her baby daddies broke up with her or left her. We are in an America now where men aren't sticking around, where men are having children and they're going on back onto their social media apps and going on to the next woman. You don't know her character. I don't know her character.
Did you hear her interview?
She could be a gold digger piece of crappy person. She also could be in love with him.
But on her interview,
they should be happy to have a child.
In her interview, she told the lady who was interviewing her this. She said, well, you want to have another child? She said, yes. So do you want to get married? She said, no. She said, I don't need the husband, I just need the baby.
Okay, well, maybe that's what she wanted.
That means she was straight up planning it, brother.
How do you know
she had a scheme.
That she didn't sincerely
just like
want
Dr.
another
Martin
child.
Luther King Jr. had a dream, she had a scheme.
Okay. But you love to assume the worst about women and worst about their motives. This is a grown man.
The worst about this one.
You are infantile.
Not all sisters, this one.
You are framing Jalen as a child. He is an adult man.
Young boy, 22.
He's an adult man who made a decision, and his decision was to have a baby with this woman. Who are you to judge? Why do you care? Like, why? This was your story. Yesterday on TV, you were blaming pedos for being raped.
Let me tell you why I care,
and now you're blaming a woman for having sex with an adult. Why don't you worry about the victimizers and let the consenting adults have consenting adult sex?
To all of you young athletes, do not think with your small head. Start using your big one. We got too many athletes,
How old were you
especially
when you had
from
your
my
first
community.
How old were you when
I
you
was
had
21, going on 22.
Okay, you were a young man.
But she wasn't a hustler. But let me make it crystal clear.
But you were thinking, which head were you thinking with?
The one that was most active at the time. But I want these young brothers to realize, look, man, when you're making millions of dollars like that and you're in the spotlight like that, you're going to have women that target you in the name of love, that's in the name of lust for your money. And these brothers got to do a better job of examining and raising the standards of the women that they entertain.
Okay, do you think
because there are too many gold-digging thirst traps that are out there looking to set these young athletes up.
That this is somehow unique to the NBA or the African-American community? There are gold-digging women and gold-digging men all over the place.
I agree.
There are people that want to use...
But white women gold dig differently.
Oh, please, let's hear this.
When black women gold dig, they dig with a shovel. When white women gold dig, they pull up with a bulldozer. They pull up with a backhoe because they gold digging is on a whole nother level. Our gold digging is for an immediate need, it's for an immediate get some money, for an immediate desire to compete with the Joneses, put up appearances. But when white women go to gold digging, they play the long game.
Do you know? So you're constantly being racist, but in this
I'm
instance,
not being racist.
in this instance,
They're
you're
just better
actually
diggers.
suggesting that white women, because of the color of their skin, because of their complexion, are somehow better at manipulating men than black women. You're actually insulting black women.
Not because of skin
and
color,
I tell you,
for the mindsets.
I think there are plenty of black women and white women that are truly looking for love.
There is
and
something
there
that
are
white
far
women
more
were
women
taught that black
for
women never
love,
taught.
and that men are just
Black
taking what they
women
can and walking
were
away
never
of all
taught
color.
Something that white
How
women
do
were taught.
you know what black and white women
I
are
can
taught?
tell you.
Why do you reduce
I can
everything
tell
to
you.
race?
I can tell you.
Let's hear it.
When you go look up the Willie Lynch letter, where he talk about the breaking of the black female.
Oh my God.
He said in that letter, never teach the black female the science of mating.
You don't think
the
anything
science
has
of
changed
mating
between now and
black
then?
people were never taught the science of mating.
And
that was for a reason.
That little white girls are just waking up and mommy saying, "Here, the science of mating. Let's. I'm going to teach y'all how to gold dig." You're
They
so
get a
full of
thorough
crap.
education.
All you do.
They get a thorough
all
education.
you do is
they get a
reduce things
thorough
to race
education.
and say a bunch of racist
Charles,
crap.
black
The truth
females
is,
were never taught the
hopefully-
science of dating like white
hopefully
women
You're
was.
just making crap up. Hopefully
But in this
Jalen
case,
is happy.
that's a gold digger.
Hopefully
In this
Jalen-
case, she'll gold digger.
Maybe so, but you don't know that. You need to stop talking about women
That
like they're
woman got more
commodities
miles on
and not
her
even-
than a
Oh,
1981
stop
Honda.
being such a misogynistic
All the tires can't be
pig.
rotated so many miles.
Take a dildo and to shove it in the mouths of handcuffed and bound men. They had them on their backs. They had them handcuffs. They had them intimidated, and they were pouring milk, liquids, and grease all over their faces in this insane interrogation and intimidation act. And then waterboard them like that on the ground, and then hurl eggs at them, and then make them strip naked. Incredibly, in Rankin County, these deputies, Elwood, McAlpin, Dedman, Updike, Middleton, Hartsfield, they actually waterboarded the two men you see now. This is the first time that a white Mississippi police officer has ever been held criminally responsible for harming a black person.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, Quanell, I think the last part of that clip was the most horrifying, right? That this was the first time, just last week when we had the sentencing, and I think it was Dedman got 40 years, which was the longest sentence. But this was the first time that a white police officer had been held criminally liable for violence towards a black man in Mississippi, which has such a horrifying history of violence as a result of Jim Crow, obviously slavery, the institution of slavery before it, but have long been whispers about the maltreatment and mistreatment of black Americans that I think was foundational for those that make what many of us, including me, see as an extremist argument, which is defund the police or abolish the police, which I think abandons black America. But you can see when you look at through this lens. But you know, when we were talking about this show, you and I were talking about different solutions, and I will tell you, I think the only solution, because power corrupts absolutely. I don't think defund the police, I don't think abolish prisons are the solution. I do think every officer, this Goon squad as they're called, every case that they pushed needs to be re-examined and dismissed, because I don't think you're going to be able to get from the good to the bad. But these monsters, right, the only reason they were caught is because they shot one of them in the face and had to get a medical attention. It would have all been covered up with planted drugs and silence, right? So we need to figure out how in America, how we can continue to have public safety, especially for poor black Americans, like Jackson, a city where this occurred, overrun with violent crime. But we also need to make sure that Americans, especially black Americans, are protected from violent, nefarious police of all races. And how do you do that? Mandatory body cams every moment they're interacting with the public. If there's not a body cam on, we presume that what they're saying is lying. You know, I think your solutions are crazy. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the only way to end it is shine a bright light of body cameras on their evil acts.
Charles, these were undercover officers.
No, they weren't.
Working in an undercover capacity.
No, they weren't.
Yes,
They
it
were
was.
task force officers
listen to me.
proactively fighting crime.
These officers
Tactical
were part
officers.
of a joint task force team that dealt with gangs and drugs.
That ain't undercover.
And some of them were undercover officers
the
also
undercover's
who
different.
worked narcotics.
Okay.
But the problem with this case, Charles, this has been going on in Mississippi and mainly other states across this country for generations.
I think it's worse in
And
Mississippi than
Charles,
anywhere else.
the bigger issue with this case is this Goon squad, as they call them, didn't become the Goon squad overnight.
Oh, no.
They didn't become the Goon squad just because it's one particular incident. They obviously had a reputation for doing nefarious things, breaking and violating people's civil rights and human rights. What has to happen for us cleaning this up is three things, in my opinion. One, police officers need to be the highest paid people in our society, along with doctors and first responders, because the starting salary—
That's insane.
The starting salary for police officers, some of them make less than school teachers. It's pathetic based on what we're asking them to do. Secondly, we raised the financial standard for a police officer. That helps us raise the standard of who we hire to become cops. That allows us to say you cannot become a cop without a college degree or a graduate degree. That allows us to raise the standards of police that we hire. Third, for at least 3 years, there should be a congressional study commission. For 3 years, no more than 5, take all white police officers out of the black community and let black police officers who understand the cultural concepts, mindsets, and activities and actions of that community police that community. Allow black officers who some of them have an invested interest in that community and know how to relate to the people, police that area. And let's see, within 3 to 5 years of all white cops being removed, will the accusations, the complaints of excessive use of force, deadly conduct, and brutality be the same? Let's see how many goon squads we have then when we remove all of these white cops out of the black community. At least do it as a test run to see if we would better police ourselves and finance police officers at a much better rate.
So you're in this make-believe America that's still segregated, that you want also public employment and public service to be segregated as well. That's an absolutely disgusting
America used to be like that.
Okay.
When black cops became cops, they were told they can't arrest white folks.
So
when black cops became cops in America, they were told
I know
you cannot arrest white
that you
folks.
love to talk about
That's
100
a fact.
years ago. I'm not arguing 100 years ago. Here in Houston.
Just
right?
in the 60s
here
and 70s and the 80s in Houston.
That's not true. You're
Black
lying.
cops were told, don't you arrest no white folks in River Oaks.
You're absolutely.
Black cops in 1980s.
You mean rich white
in
folks?
80s
You
were
mean-
told, don't you arrest
mean
no
all
white folks
cops were
in
told
River
to
Oaks.
leave rich people alone? Amazing. You lie so much it's
Charles,
crazy.
they could arrest rich
Let me know when I
Negroes.
can talk. Let me know when I can
They
talk.
could arrest rich
Let
Negroes,
me know when I can talk.
but not rich white folks.
So in Houston, for over a decade, you had a task force led by a black officer, Goins, who assassinated a couple of older white people over a falsified falsified drug raid, right? So this isn't race-based. And
But that wasn't the first time.
I know
That wasn't the first time.
You want to
Remember
segregated
those white
America.
officers in
Segregating
Houston
America
who
isn't the
handcuffed
solution.
and threw Pedro
Body-
Aragón
throwing
in
money,
the bayou
body
and
cameras,
drowned him,
and
handcuffed.
oversight is the solution, not more damn Quad LX racism.
No, this is a history of white cops doing this.
Absolute nonsense.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have advocated for a long time. Let us see, by pulling all white cops out of the black community for 3 to 5 years, and let's see what the community police relationships are like after 3 to 5 years of having nothing but African-American officers in our community. The overwhelming complaints that come out of the black community are against white police officers for excessive use of force, deadly conduct, and violating human and civil rights in our community. Let's see if those complaints have the same level of activity and filings if white cops are no longer there. And remember, tens of thousands of white cops right now have given up on policing the black community Many of them are saying we ain't policing them because we're going to jail, we're being indicted, we're being charged with crimes when we do this or do that. So many of them are quit becoming cops and say we're not going to police the black community anyway. It is important that we come up with a radical solution to fix a radical problem.
Well, a solution in America is not racism or segregation. My partner here, Quanell X, has made an entire career decrying and whining about racism. Some of it legitimate, some of it racialized nonsense. But also, he loves racism at the same time, right? Segregation is inherently wrong. Segregation based on skin color or ethnicity is anti-American as it gets. And most certainly we got it wrong in yesteryear, but this new embrace, this new call for segregation is disgusting. The way we fix policing is we have body cams, oversight boards, and we remove bad police, period. And I will tell you, as Lil Wayne, a great story from one of the best hip-hop artists ever, Lil Wayne talks about when he shot himself accidentally as a young child. A number of New Orleans African-American cops came, making some derisive comments, did nothing to help him. It was a white cop that they just stepped over his body. A white cop scooped him up, put him in his patrol car, drove him to the hospital, and saved his life. And that cop didn't do it because he was black, white, anything. It's because it's a good thing to do. We need to keep the good cops, get rid of the bad cops. We don't need more bigotry.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.